All right, good evening, everyone. This is AMA with Abiola Ibrahim. It's the first maiden edition of AMA by GDG Ibadan. And we are having Abiola Ibrahim from Highland, joining us from Highland. And we'll be asking him a few questions about career life and everything that surrounds his journey as a software developer. Very quickly, I'm going to run down the agenda for today. This is the introductory part of course which I'm doing. Very shortly, I'm going to be switching over to Goke, who will be telling us about the essence of AMA. Of course, I'll be introducing our guests, and then I will engage Abiola in something that looks like an interview session. After which we'll take questions from people who have submitted their questions on the Google Forms that are made available to you. Abiola would, thereafter, advise some of our upcoming developers to be good developers as well.
Someone like before,
All right, thank you. When you join, please mute so that we don't disrupt the conversation. Thank you very much. And we appreciate your commitment towards joining us and being part of this today. Thank you as you comply to. All right. Like I said, this is AMA is the first edition ever. We are likely going to be having a few other editions this year, but we are having Abiola right now. Abiola is a software developer with Teamwork Island presently. In the past, he has been a software developer with Reconfigure.io. He has been a lead software developer at Andela, and he has also been a software developer with Konga Shopping Limited in Nigeria here. So we're going to be asking him a few questions. Thereafter, Goke would tell us about this program, what gave birth to this program, and the reason why we are having this, the reason why all of us are here online on Google Hangouts, thanks to Google Hangouts. And we're having this. So I will be handing over to Goke right now to tell us about AMA.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Tola. Yeah, this is AMA, Ask Me Anything. And the whole idea of the Ask Me Anything basically is just to showcase developers that have gone up from local communities to do great and awesome things around the world. And when I thought about this, when we thought about this, the first person that came to mind was Abiola Ibrahim. Abiola has been a GDG organizer in the past, and he's done a lot in the community and for the community. So seeing the heights to which he's attained now, I believe there's so much we can learn from him, and we'll be learning as much as possible from all developers that have grown up from here to around the world, basically. So Ask Me Anything basically is just an opportunity for you to interact with devs and developers like you and ask them about their journey, ask them about their story, and what are the things they've done, what are the lessons they've learned, and how can you also do some of the things they've done to be able to achieve the best, just like they've been able to. Yes, so just like Tola said, we'll be having other editions of this with other developers that have gone on to do great things and around the world. So this is just the first one. Most importantly, just like Tola mentioned earlier as well, please, when you join, ensure you switch off your mic and also switch off the video, so it's a good experience. The video will be available on YouTube after this. And just talk about GDG Ibadan briefly. GDG Ibadan is a local community-run local community basically run in Ibadan for developers by developers, and basically we talk about Google products and how we can leverage them to build solutions and products that can change the state and make things better in Africa and Nigeria, basically. So that's it. And often, of course, going on to solve problems of the world as well. So sit back and let's enjoy the AMA with Abiola.
All right, thank you, Goke, for the brief on AMA. Abiola?
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to be starting off with some questions for you right away.
Okay.
And, I hope you're hearing me so that...
I'm hearing clear.
All right, great. Now the first question for you is, you are a developer. You are a developer to reckon with. Most times when you tell developers that they are good enough, they tell you everybody's still learning. Of course, we are in a field where everybody learns, but you can say you have achieved a lot for yourself and developed yourself to the extent that we can call you a developer to reckon with. So tell us how you started off. Was it easy? Was it slow? Was it? Did you feel like you should quit at some point? Tell us how it got started as becoming a software developer.
Okay. I think there's an echo somewhere. Maybe you should mute for now. Okay, good. So the journey actually started long before I became a professional, sort of. So first things first, with regards to first and foremost, with regards to finding it easy and whatnot, definitely not like the popular saying applies everywhere. Nothing good comes easy. Then with regards to software development in particular, programming and whatnot, and everything that surrounds it, the bitter truth is that it requires a lot of practice and a lot of time. Like you have to dedicate a lot of time to it. You can bootstrap yourself. You can start doing things in a short time, but to be able to master it to some level, requires dedication and constant practice over time. And about my own journey specifically, it started. I had early access to computers, so that's what's caused my own. It's not like I suddenly decide to be a software developer. I've always been doing something related to computers all my life. So the exposure to computers and already sort of gave me an idea of programming even before I entered uni. So, but I wasn't doing much then because you don't have the type of exposure available now. So, for example, there's no internet, and we have to do a lot of searching by yourself, like search for things, try to get disks of software, even Visual Basic and whatnot. So I have to go through all that phase in the beginning when I was just curious, trying to know how the programs get into the computer. So that's the first phase, and that one it didn't really go for long, but the curiosity is still there. So when I got into the uni and started studying computer science, then it became more of a realistic goal. So since the first year, I've already made up my mind that I really like to be into something of this nature. And all through my university days, I've always been doing something program related. Like if there's anything software related in the department, I'm always involved. So and due to my prior experience with computers and a little bit of intro to programming that I had before, it gave me a bit of an edge compared to everybody else that was just starting at the same time as me. So that already made things a bit not easier, definitely. But of course, you can compare that to someone that is just learning about programming at the same time. So that's how I started. So it all revolves around dedication. Like you said, there is no shortcut. You have to spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time practicing. Then you have to. Another thing is you have to sort of have a goal or people that you can look forward to. Right now, there are many. You guys are quite lucky. There are so many that you can just look around and decide to. You can look around and see someone to emulate easily. But before now, it's not really that easy. It's not easy to see a Nigerian that have gone through the same process as yours to emulate. Sort of like most of them either studied abroad, did masters abroad before they're able to like actually be at certain level. So we don't really have that much people to like in that have a similar story per se. But like I said, it's all about practice and dedication and knowing what you want and trying to get there. So for me, what works is I'm already exposed to computer from the onset, and I made up my mind once I entered the uni that this is what I want to do, and I made sure that I gave it enough attention and tried to work my part towards it. With regards to looking forward to people, I have a couple of people, just like some people may regard me as their mentor or whatnot. I also definitely have people I look forward to in different companies all around the world. So not that I interact with them per se on a daily basis, but once in a while you just reach out to them, ask them some questions, and see if they can help you. So and of course, it's all about having a goal. Let me put it that way. So I have a goal. Try to how do I put this? Yeah, have a goal. Picture yourself where you like to be in certain number of years or in a particular time, and try to work towards it. But the bottom line is that it's not always easy. You have to you have to do a lot of practice, and there'll be days you may not be able to sleep properly because you're trying to practice. So for me, I personally feel that software engineering, in a broader term, it's a bit more technical. There's a lot of studying to that you need if you really want to understand it properly to some extent, like specialize in some aspects. But the act of programming itself, just coding and building stuff, like you don't really. It's, to me, I see it more like a craft, like something you can learn over time. It's just it comes by practice. The more you do it, the better you get at it. The act of programming itself. But to get into the finer details and whatnot, that one may require more study. Like if you want to be a full-fledged software engineer as a whole, like you want to know the minute details of everything that is happening, that one you can't escape not studying one or two things. You don't necessarily have to. Of course, computer science will help if you pay the attention and you're able to go through the right courses. But you don't necessarily have to study computer science, but you have to do some studying that are related to computer science. Not necessarily the course, but it could be on your own. But programming itself, just be able to build a website, be able to like code generally, like most of the programming jobs generally, it's something you can learn on your own. It's something that comes with practice, and I believe it's more like a craft and than a gift kind of. Like anybody can pick it up. That's what I feel. So the bottom line is still that you have to spend time and dedicate. You have to spend time and dedicated towards it. So I think, I don't know if that answers all your question, but just give you.
Thank you, Ravi.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody has been able to pick one or two things from there. Practice, practice, practice. Apart from the fact that Abiola was exposed and all, he still had to, sit with his computer and do some real work. The next question I'm going to ask and be asking you is, what was your first ever text editor? When did you start using an IDE? Can you just give us a brief of that?
Okay. First text editor, and when did I start using an IDE? So, well, I actually had an IDE first because it's Visual Basic. Okay.
When did you eventually move to using command lines and all?
Okay, let's answer the question one by one. I actually started off with an IDE because my first program was actually written in Visual Basic. So, and since you're particular about when, that should be 2004 or one of the two, 2004, 2005. I'm not very sure, but it's either of the two. So that was the first time I actually can say I wrote a program. Like, I did something. But it's not like I'm that familiar with it back then. But yeah, that's that. Anytime I want to remember my programming journey, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Like, that's where I started from.
Okay. So Visual Basic it was then.
Visual Studio basically. That was my first idea, if that counts.
Okay, that's cool. All right. Has there been any kind of uptime as so far in your journey as a software engineer?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Have I had times, right?
Yeah, at times in your journey as a software engineer.
Okay. Sorry, you asked a question before this, but I don't know which one actually. The one about command line, but let me answer this one and go back to it. You're always gonna have hard time to radically down. That's just part of life. You can't run away from that. Hard time not necessarily mean that nothing works for you. What it just means is that what you're trying to build or what you're working on at that moment is not bringing the output you expect. So let's say you have a 2-week sprint, for example, you have to deliver some features, and somehow you couldn't get some tasks done out of your task, and you are at the risk of carrying over this to the next sprint. That one can be there. There can even be situations where the company need to ship up a product and you are responsible for part of the features, and the features are not ready, and you know the impact on the company. So that one is always going to happen periodically. Like, you can't run away from it, except you don't really want to be in that field. So those moments are always going to be there. The only thing is that with experience, you know how to manage the situations better. So depending on your team, you should always know when to ask questions, when to collaborate with people. Like when you get stuck, you try to make your own effort, definitely, but it's all about being it's all about being I don't want to use the word intelligent. There's a better word to use. Yeah, smart about it. So for example, let's say let's say it's the first day of the sprint, for example, and you have some issues. It's more realistic that you try to do some things on your own before trying to seek help. Like, you still have some time cushion. That's realistic. But in a situation where you have very limited time, you may not want to start testing your ability to find that solution. If it's already dragging too long, you may want to quickly pull someone in at that point in time and see if you can move forward. Like, what I'm saying is, as much as collaboration is good, sometimes you just have the room to, like, try things yourself. Usually, before you seek out help, you have attempted to some extent. It's not like you are given a task and if the first thing you are doing is asking someone else about it. So you always have to make an effort first before you collaborate with someone else. But depending on the situation, like, it's not like a black and white thing, one and two. Depending on the situation, you have to find a way to balance it. If I should go ahead or I should quickly pull someone in right now. Then in some cases, you may even be assigned a task where you actually peer program with someone else, like collaborate with someone else on the fly. But usually when you get stuck like that, you seek help. That's just it. Either you search online or you reach out to a colleague, or you even reach out to your line manager if it's technical. Like, you just have to make sure that you move forward. That's what matters. It doesn't how you move forward. It's not really that important. Like, it doesn't have to be you. Like, it's all about making sure the task is done, and in the process, whether you did it or someone else help you, you're always going to learn anyway. So you can't run away from such situations. You just need to know how to balance, how to manage the situation. So in cases like that, what I always do is try to collaborate with someone else, and people will also reach out to you as well, provided you're in the right environment and the relationship are healthy. That's how it's meant to be. So yeah. The question you asked before about command line and co, I think. Well, the command line is in two places. Like, is it when I started using it as an editor fully, or like when I started dabbling into it as a whole? You know, you may be very good with command line, like be able to access it to the servers, do a bunch of things, but not be able to use it as your editor, for example. So there are two different things. Okay.
When you start using as an editor?
Oh, as an editor, that should be. Let me see. Then that should be late 2014 or early 2015, I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. We have run out of time. And we'd like to take questions from those who have reached out to us, and so that we have quite a lot of questions here, and we have limited to spend with each other. So I'll dive into questions from our members of our community that have shown, brought up their questions on the form that has been filled. on the form online, on Google Form online. So someone is asking, Tola Leary, I hope he's online, and if he's not, he'll get to listen later. He says power supply is a major problem in Nigeria. So what the question is, how does it focus? How does it hold its steadfastness with little or no electricity, especially in a place like Ibadan, where you started from?
Okay, good. To make now that you mentioned it, let me just give a bit about my experience anyway. So when we're still, I don't know the situation now, but like it's very challenging back then when we were still in school. And unlike now that actually many people have laptops with batteries, like many laptops then actually have very bad batteries. Like even though you have a laptop, your battery is bad anyway, so you still need the light. So not only do we not have power, we don't have internet as well. So at least internet penetration is better now. So you have one less thing to. Well, it's still not that much affordable, but at least you can reach it. For example, there was a time I pay like 3,500 for 500 MB salad. Like you can imagine. so I mean, we're talking about when dollar was 150. So you can know the effect of 3.5 on a student back then. Anyway, what okay. So anyway, what I'm just going to tell him is he has to keep looking for opportunities. So in my own, for example, when I was a UI, this is not very appropriate, but I mean, it's just the reality. I go to the library a lot, not to read the books. It's just to use the power because power is always in the library. So I connect my laptop to it. Like it was so crazy. We go to libraries. We even go to the chapel. We go to the mosque because those places are always powered. So just to use light, like it's that crazy. So if you have a similar opportunity, like it doesn't have to be something you own per se, but somewhere you know that you can go and they won't trouble you that much. You can always take advantage of that. So that's what we had to do when we needed light back then, and we couldn't find anywhere. So we just have to keep doing what we can, charge when we can charge, and try to like just manage the situation. It's a sad reality, but you just have to.
Okay, thank you, Abiola. There is a question from Ajao Yan, and he says, since you're working abroad now, he says, we have noticed that he said, what have you noticed that developers do abroad that most developers in Nigeria don't do?
Hello, Abiola. I don't know if you can hear us, but we can't hear you anymore. I think you might need to rejoin. There's something wrong with the audio. Yeah, we lost your audio for like a few minutes now, 2 minutes.
Okay, sorry. How about now?
No, it's back. It's back. Sorry.
Oh, I think I pressed mute by mistake.
Okay, no problem.
Maybe let me just start over again.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, so what I said is that what I noticed about them is they understand the basics better than us. So in our own case, we already know we learn how to program for us, and we now go back to start understanding what we're doing. like we've already been writing for loops before we know that that's a control statement. Like that's the easiest example I can give. In their case, they already understand all those concepts. They're just using a programming language to actualize what they've learned all this while. I personally feel that they don't struggle as much as well. Like they don't put, like if you look at the number of hours they in terms of self-development, the number of hours they put in to learn certain things compared to the number of hours we put in, like our own is generally higher. Like we're actually that committed, but they just have the better resources. So I think that's what happened. But I think right now there's better exposure. The developer communities and events and all this access to internet is bridging the gap. So we're having access to the resources they're having access to gradually now. So people are mostly learning on their own, but I think the gap is bridging. So basically, I don't think there's anything per se that they do that we don't do with regards to software development. That's the only difference I notice is the fact that they don't have to worry about certain things there, so they can afford to spend less time on some of the things they're doing. I don't know if that answers the question.
Good response. Samuel Toro is also asking, he thinks the tech industry today is filled with a lot of packaging by developers, and there is this hype around IT generally, and he says it's super crazy. So his question is, what is the right path to follow as a software developer, as a software engineer?
Okay, so just like many other things in life, there is generally no right path per se. It's always subjective. That being said, with regards to software development, there's still no right path. Like I would say, do front end or do back end, or try to be a full stack, or try to go one step lower, or try to be a system engineer or whatnot. I think the path should be influenced by you personally. So some people are always going to prefer working on the front end. Like no matter how much of the back end they know, they just feel more comfortable. Like it feels more natural to them to work on the front end. So it's all start from what you actually want to do, what you prefer doing. I think that's the first part. Then there are many things that can influence that. You can look at. It's fine to look at what's in demand and use that one to gauge what you want to learn. That's perfectly fine as well. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think the sole decision should be on you. And whichever part you take, I personally feel like there is a gap to fill in all of them. So it doesn't matter if you're a back end or a front end. And the only thing is that sometimes you have to be realistic, like know your market. For example, how best do I put this? Like, let's say you want to do hardware engineering, for example, and the only place you are looking for a job is back in Nigeria, for example. You have limited choices, definitely. So you have to be realistic about whatever choice you're making. But there is really no right path. It's all about what you like doing. And I personally feel like right now, across the software engineering, the options you have in software engineering, software development generally, I think that all of them have gaps for you to fill. So I don't really think you can go wrong in either you decide to do front end or back end, or you want to be DevOps, for example. Okay, the one recommendation I just try to make is there's no point in knowing little about everything. Like it doesn't work well. So it's better for you to master one perfectly. It applies to programming languages as well. Like it's better for you to know, let's say you know JavaScript. Like anytime you have a job interview now and they said, you should write anything they ask you to write, you're able to use JavaScript for it, irrespective of where you are. Like you should know that, let's say you pick JavaScript and you know that one head to tail, and you have an idea about others, that's fine. But you're far better off than someone that just knows a bit of JavaScript, a bit of, let's say, Ruby, a bit of Java and things like that. You are far better off in that particular scenario. So if he's looking for a specific advice, what I would say is that whatever your passion lies, make sure you know that one, like as much as you can. Like rate yourself like 6 and above on it at least. Even though I'm trying to rate yourself like 6 and above in it, like be sure that you can do at least many things in it. Then you can now try to have an idea about others. If you have the luxury of knowing many, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But if you don't have that luxury, try to master one perfectly, and I believe there'll be job opportunities for that particular one as well. And once you are once you are very, very good in one aspect, switching over to another aspect if required is not that difficult anyway. It's not that difficult because you've how best can I put this? Okay, let's say let me use JavaScript as an example as well. So let's say you're good with the front end, and let's say you're good all around JavaScript. You can write Node.js, you can write front end JavaScript, and you're familiar with the front end framework, for example. Because you've known that all around, whether you like it or not, that will give you some knowledge of how servers work as well, not just what happens on the front end. So let's say tomorrow you have to use another backend, another language for the backend. You already understand how the whole backend thing works anyway. So it's just about understanding the new syntax and what to apply. So it's not like you have to start from scratch. It's not like all you know how to do in JavaScript is maybe how to just how to build a small a simple guest book, for example. And in the backend, all you know how to do is just maybe have a script to populate the DB, and that's all. Like those tiny bits and pieces are not going to help you. So it's better to master whatever. Even if it's front end, you can very, very good with React all around. Like you can use React perfectly, and I can assure you that there are job openings for just that if that's all you're good at. So and you'll be able to fit in compared to if you don't know React that much, and if you don't know, let's say you don't know Node.js to the server side that much as well. You can't really apply for any job because you don't really have enough knowledge in any of them. So if you have the luxury, fine, you can learn as much as you can. But if you don't have the luxury, or when you're starting up, pick one and be very, very good at it, then you can now start expanding to others. So that's the approach I would take.
Okay, thank you for the response, Abiola. I think there's a question about AI here. Well, trying to understand this question, I think it's just asking about your view about artificial intelligence, probably the rate at which research is going in the area of artificial intelligence, and what you see the future of that specialization. What would be the future of the area of artificial intelligence? I think that's what he's trying to ask.
Okay. Well, AI is not my strongest point, but we can all see what's happening. 5 years ago, your smartphone is not as smart as now. Like right now, the type of recommendations you get on YouTube, it's so much tailored to what you're actually interested in. All I can say is that, well, as much as I think it's obvious, but what I can say, I think it's a good thing, and I think it can only make our life easier in the long run. And we're already seeing the impacts all across the tech industry, not just even though it's mainly backed by software, but we are seeing the impact everywhere. We are already seeing self-driving cars. We're already seeing let's even go. We've already seen things like smart refrigerators, and I even saw a smart mug. Like, yeah, I once saw a smart mug as well. What it does is that you set the temperature that you like, and it just ensures it's a regular cup, like it's open, but it ensures that it maintains that temperature. So even if you're in a very, very cold or hot room, doesn't matter. Though it uses a battery anyway, but that's what it does. And there's many other things like the possibility to me, I think, is endless, and we're just seeing the beginning of what can be done. But I think it can only make our life better in the long run. But I'm not very much involved in AI personally.
Okay, it's all right. Okay. Someone is asking why you chose to migrate and stop working for Nigerian employers. He wants to know the real reason why.
Well, it's not like I stopped working for Nigerian employers per se. Like if the right offer comes, I'm not saying I'm not coming back home anyway. So that one is I'm not ruling it out. I'm not gonna work for a Nigerian company. Like, you never can tell. It's usually the challenges around you and it's usually the challenges around and what you're trying to, like, once you have a goal and there are some things you personally like to do, and you just need to move to or just need to be in the right environment to carry them out. So let me put it that way. It's not like I started off here anyway. I started off at Congress. Goke was my colleague at one point. And it's personally, I felt that that's a very good part. But it's well, the obvious thing is that there overall there are higher challenges, and even though the infrastructure and whatnot, the whole environment is better, which is true. It's not primarily about that. It's actually primarily about the career as well. Actually, it's actually primarily about my career. So I feel that the opportunity I am currently on right now is better than what I have. So that was why I made the move I made. So it's not like I'm trying to run away per se. Like, it's just like I get a better opportunity and it happens to be abroad, and that's why. So if I want to run away, I'll just go to Germany. Everybody's in Germany. So so I'm not really not working for Nigerian companies. So nothing is impossible. I may still come back, but yeah, it's just what aligns with my career at the moment. So that's why I moved.
All right. I hope the person who is asking that question is listening, and then is also knowing that Abiola is not running away, and there's a possibility for him to come back. So thank you for your question. I think we should encourage this young programmer. I think he's just he's asking, how can a newbie become a programmer?
How can he become a programmer?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
a newbie. Yeah. Somebody who is not.
I can. Yeah.
A good one, a good programmer.
Okay. So how can he reach that level, right?
Hello.
Oh my goodness. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So with regards to becoming a good programmer, well, I think I mentioned partly that when I was talking about my own development. Yes, you have to practice anyway, but I think you have to be involved with a real project to actually, like, before you can actually classify yourself as someone in that category. There is a massive difference between just building playful stuffs on your local PC and actually building things that people depend on, like companies depend on. So there is massive difference between the two. So I don't know where he is, but if you want to take it up as a professional, as a professional career, well, I'll still advise that you should, if you're still in uni, obviously finish your university and try to intern at a decent place, and from there try to. Personally, I feel you should start up at a company that is, well, good enough, but that's going to give you enough responsibilities, because at the earliest stages is very, very important. You have to learn as much as you can in that short period. So it's always better to have a place that will give you enough responsibilities. As much as money is very important, which is true, I personally feel if you get the right experience, if you're able to place yourself in the right place at the beginning, like, the money will come ahead or tail anyway, because our field is still, like, there's still many holes to be filled. Like I said earlier, there's so many people still looking for developers anyway. So
She says, thank you very much.
So I'm starting up in a big company that won't allow you to do much just because they're paying you well. I personally feel will not benefit you in the long run. So I think it's better to, whatever it's going to be, it doesn't have to be a small company anyway. It just have to be somewhere that you'll be given enough responsibilities, meaning that you'll be able to learn as much as much as possible over that period. Then you now use that experience to build yourself going forward. So with regards to himself, knowing what to do is practice, like I said earlier. If he wants to become a professional and build a career around it, our advice is start at a place where they're giving us enough responsibilities and move on from there.
Okay, good. So I'd like to ask you now, how many programming languages do you have?
Well, I don't know if I keep count per se. Well, let me clarify this. I think eventually you get to a stage where the program language doesn't really matter. So hopefully every one of us will get to that stage. Once you've reached certain level, you can learn any programming language and be using it. With about the numbers, I will start counting up my head, but I know it's quite like probably the common one you can think of. I can write them and put it that way. Probably 10. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
But I don't keep numbers. I don't know the exact figure.
Okay. I would also like to, you know, I would like you to encourage young developers by asking this question. What are some of the best practices in software engineering that you recommend for people who are getting started? Just like you said, most of the time we don't understand what we are doing, but we just kind of later we get to understand that, okay, this is how a class works, and this is how all the function and all of that, and this is what this does. So, can you give some brief best practices in the area of software engineering for developers to, pick up even while they are starting?
Well, best practices per se. I would. Your question to me, I think what's more appropriate is more in line of what computer science concepts should they hold on to and apply. I think things like data structures and data structures. I think they are very, very important. Because if you understand them very well, the way you're going to write your program, there are some considerations you'll be making that ordinarily some people will not be making it. So if you eventually you work at a place where you need to scale things, and when that happens, your knowledge of how things are being stored in memory and whatnot, and what data structure you use, when you should try to use a map, and when you should just iterate to everything, and all those minor details, like it will come into play later on. But to me, I feel anybody picking up programming should at least have some understanding of the data structures, like know why you are using a map. Do you really need to use a map and things like that? Know when you should use an array and whatnot. And then algorithms are useful. I won't say as they are also very important anyway, but I think with experience you improve with that one. I think what I can recommend about algorithms is you can understand how they work. For example, you can just pick up any of the certain algorithms and try to look at how they work. You don't actually have to write your own. That's not the issue. But understand how they work so you can benefit from that. Best practices. Well, I think I don't know where to. I don't even. I think that's a bit. Did I say a bit ambiguous per se, because we're still talking about some basic details. If you Let me see. If you're working on a project, for example, then we can start. It depends on many things. It depends on program languages, and it depends on the type of project you're working on. But generally, as a software engineer, anyway, we have some basic etiquettes, like you don't be evil, for example. So irrespective of whatever you're doing, try to make sure that you're not being evil. Like, have the best interest of whoever gave you that task in mind, the company in mind. Don't put it that way. The fact that someone asked you to do a job for them doesn't mean that you have to put backhole in everything and be spying on them and whatnot. So you don't be evil. But best practice about coding, I think one of the simplest one to grab is dry, which is that try it as much as possible not to repeat yourself unnecessarily. So if you realize that you are repeating certain type of code over time, you can, like, if you are repeating it in more than 2 places, like, I think that's an idea that you should probably break that into a function and reuse that function in those places. So try not to repeat yourself. I think that's the easiest one to grab for someone starting up from scratch.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Abiola, for the responses. I guess I don't know if there's anyone online who wants to ask a few questions, but if there is none, I guess I'll just ask you to give a general advice for people, and we look at ending this conversation.
Okay.
Do you have anybody with questions? Anybody on the call that has a question? Okay. Cool. I think if I'm gonna have a question, I'll just say I don't know how to put this question to make it very brief. I don't want it to be so complicated, but I'll just say, can you just tell us like the how do I ask this question? Like your path, basically, like what has been your path from where you what the path you've taken from coding from the very first time you started coding, which is 2014 now, and it's something like I kind of find it's easy to learn from, kind of knowing how people have gone through stages and stage with the person as well.
Oh, okay, that's a good question. Well, what should I start from? So initially, initially when I started, it revolves around what we are using, which is mainly Java back then. So I actually started off, apart from what happened in back then, like I said, in 2004 and whatnot, and the likes of Visual Basic and those ones, I was just trying to build something with programming. It's not like it's more of an hobby. It's more of an hobby thing, curiosity kind of thing than actually having something in mind to do. So just like everybody, like just like every other young kid, like I play games on the PC a lot, and I got tired of playing games. I want something else. I got tired of all the productivity applications there, and I just wondered how they got there, and that's how I got into. I understand that it's programming that brought them there, so that's how Visual Basic come into the picture. And with Visual Basic, I wrote some basic stuff like a text editor, browsed. Not like I wrote it from scratch anyway. There are already components to use, so don't read too much meaning to them. Like text editor, browser, and whatnot. And the only thing I think I'm proud of in the Visual Basic era was I wrote something like a Caris. It's in some 2D, basic 2D stuff, and I use static picture and dotted lines and whatnot. I was able to come up with something that at least it was good enough for a Caris, because I was playing game all the time, so that was the only thing I could think of at that time. I wish I still have access to the code. I would have shared it. Well, of course, that was gone. So back when we get into uni, it's Java primarily. So that's with what I've already had experience with a bit, then now translating it to like Java, where Java is obviously broader, or like you can do more things than Visual Basic anyway. So with Java, I started building proper desktop apps, like use Swing, Java Swing, and build desktop apps. I built a couple of them, like mostly utilities I use on my own PC. I think that's a good thing as well. If you're looking if you're looking for something to practice on, you can always look for the problems you have personally and try to write a program to solve them. So that's another good way. So I started off, apart from whatever they give us in school anyway, that I'll just try to build things to solve my own, like anything, any issue, any personal utilities. For example, things like being able to deny people access to my computer, for example. Like apart from the regular, apart from the regular Windows login, I have my own application that actually locks the computer as well. So it allows me to share, like if I want to share time for someone, I can time you. So let's say I want to give you my laptop for 10 minutes. I have a program that I wrote that I'll just give it 10 minutes and you use it, and it will lock you when you're done. If a funny scenario was when probably mentioned it to many people before, but I once wrote. It's not. I want to use Java as well to write something like task manager. So it's not like I really wanted to write the task manager. So what happened was um, there was a malware. I'm not sure if it's a malware specifically or some sort of virus anyway. That is affecting that particular system. It's not mine, but I was called to help. So what that particular virus does is that once you open, I think it already has a registry, like a dictionary of the applications that can stop it.
Okay.
So once you start any of those applications, it's going to kill the process immediately.
Wow.
Of course, the virus has already infected, so it already has all the admin privileges in it anyway. So like if you open a browser, you're fine, you can keep browsing. But once you go to any antivirus site, it will close the browser. If you want to open an antivirus, it will kill the process. If you open task manager, it will kill the process, like all those sort of things. So I was wondering what could this thing be doing? Like I can see the process, but I can't kill it. So and now I just wrote something similar to, and the process name is not consistent as well. So you can't really just look at the process name and go to and write a command to write the CLI command to kill the process. Like it could have changed again. So I need a way to monitor it and be able to kill that process. So I just thought of, well, I have reasons to believe that it's not that intelligent to really know that this application is a task manager or a web browser or whatnot. Like you just have maybe some sort of dictionaries using. So I now wrote something similar to a task manager. Like there are already commands to fetch all the processes and whatnot. And I realized it didn't close my own task manager. So obviously it didn't know that it exists. So I was able to kill its process from there. So from there I was now able to do other things and eventually remove the virus. You should I think you should just try to exhibit your show creativity once in a while. Like you already know how to do some certain things. Like there are a couple of minor problems around you. It doesn't have to be a big software that everybody's using. It could just be something that benefits, that suits that particular scenario you are in. Like be able to come up with something to just solve that problem. That's one of the ways I learned. Like, just build software for anything you need. Like write a script for it and things like that. So along the line, you keep improving yourself. So that's it. So anyway, because okay, all those periods is mainly Java anyway, because that's what we do in school. Then PHP as well. We also do PHP in school, so I'm involved with that. What else? Then of course, when you're involved with PHP, definitely the front end comes into play. So that's where JavaScript comes in. So, and JavaScript is just one language. I can't even remember how I started writing it. All I know is I'm writing JavaScript. I can't say I learned it. Like right now, it's so, I don't know why it's quite unfortunate for you guys now. Like you have to have so many files generated and have to understand how the framework is working, even though it's supposed to be simpler than that. I still think people should try to write basic JavaScript first, like understand core JavaScript itself. Like it's very simple on the basic level. Then you can easily bring in any framework and you'll be fine with it. But if you start up, it's fine anyway. You can do it that way and make it. But I still feel like it's always beneficial to write vanilla JavaScript once in a while, because once you use any of the frameworks and you understand how it works on the basic level, like you'll be very, very comfortable. So that's how JavaScript comes into play, and that opened a lot of possibilities as well, and started exploring stuff. Then out of curiosity, like you just want to know more, and that's where along the line when I entered uni as well, I had access to Linux. So in fact, it's one of the reasons why I like Java then, because Java is the language then that allows me to code on both Linux and Windows comfortably. Like I literally have the same code base, except for some minor details. It's basically the same code base then. Like it was a big deal. Like back then when they talk about cross-platform, it's not really what we know as cross-platform now. So it was a big deal then that I could actually write Java in Linux and Windows. So I was using Linux a lot. So because of that, I was writing Java mostly. Of course, Microsoft and its tools then were tied to Windows. So that's one of the reasons why I was biased over Java then. So I write a lot of Java. So due to Linux, of course, when you're involved with Linux, Python will come in because it's always there in your terminal and whatnot. Then I think Linux was what exposed me to many other things. So because of that, I I had access to things like IRC, for example. I once in a while join chat and you see what people are talking about, and you just hear this technology and you want to know what's going on. So that's how I was one way or the other expanding, and just trying to learn bits and pieces of this. Yeah. But while I'm doing all that anyway, I still think my strongest then while I was in school was clearly Java, closely followed by PHP when I was still in school. So all the while, okay, we also did a bit of C++ as well when we got to I still remember the name of the course. I think survey of programming languages or something. I think you students should still remember. So I think we got involved with C++ there, but I didn't do much of C++ anyway. So I was trying to, yeah. So then, what's it called? I don't know. You guys should try to register for all these programming contests and whatnot as well. Like it helps. You don't actually, stop. I think one of the wrong motive many people have is that they only want to register for things they can win, which is that you're just limiting your scope unnecessarily. You don't necessarily need to win. Just participate and be part of the experience. It's always gonna broaden your overall exposure. So so CodeJam, then we know we are not winning anyway. So, but we are lucky. I think Google was just trying to be very heavily involved in Africa then. So they first did a version that was CodeJam Africa. So I wish they still do that one again. At least we can get enough Nigerians to show off their skills there. So they did CodeJam Africa. They did the first Google event in Nigeria in Unilag. So we all went there. From there, they announced to us that CodeJam Africa is going to happen. Then when CodeJam Africa happened, then with three of us, we got to was it the three of us? Yeah, I think the three guys I know, I think all of us got to the final. I think it's just 2 stages. I forgot it. But in the final, anyway, it wasn't funny at all. Even though it was Africa, like you still realize that we're still we are still not there yet. It was dominated by. I know it's gonna be much better now because people are more exposed to it. But then, like that was like the first experience of everything, and which was dominated by Egypt and South Africa. So those were the ones that are at the top. We won shirts anyway, but the shirt never arrived. But we won shirts. Okay, and so I think those minor things here and there are what they just keep, because the more you're exposed to certain things, the broader your scope of thinking and what you start looking into. Okay, so okay, obviously with CodeJam, you see the type of programs that people are writing, how people have already solved all the problem before you finish reading the question and things like that. So you'll be challenged. So you look at the programming languages they use and the like. So I realized that Java is actually slower because CodeJam is a level playing ground. They don't care. It's not like HackerRank is. HackerRank, right? No,
yes.
HackerRank. Yeah, HackerRank is nicer because they actually pay attention to the technology you are using. For example, the timeout for a Python program is higher than the timeout for a Go program, for example, or a C program. The C program is lower than even Go. Like they pay some attention to all the environment you are and try to make sure that it's not that biased. On CodeJam, it's a level playing field. Some people will use assembly, like it's so crazy. Some people use C assembly. Like there's no way on earth that your program will run as fast as their own. Like there's no competition. You've already lost the battle before starting. So because of that, I realized that maybe I need to learn a static language, like the one that compiles and run as fast as possible. You know, Java still uses the JVM, so it's not as fast. Even though the JVM is very much optimized and it can actually compare with some other, perform better with than some languages, but compared to like C and the likes, it's not the same league. So because of that, I wanted to try to improve my C++ skills, and that's when Go got announced, and I just switched to Go, and because Go was easier. So that's actually what brought my interest into Go. It's not because of anything special. So, and that's how Go came into the picture. So basically, along the line, I just kept having one reason or the other to try this technology and it keeps growing. So basically, for example, in Python, I once wrote a script to. It's nothing fancy. Like you can do that with WinRAR and the likes anyway. But it's then we don't have big flash drive. Like you can still have a flash drive of 256 MB. flash drive has to. I think my first flash was 1 gig, I think, and it was a big deal. Like seriously, to have a 1 gig flash. So I actually wrote it's something simple. I just wrote a script to divide the files in a big file into multiple small files, and divide it. Then on that destination is gonna merge it. Like I'm just giving an example of how you can. Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to give an example of a lot of things you could be doing that you don't even realize. Like so many minor problems that you just feel like you can use a script to solve. That's how you improve yourself. And once you start writing some things over time, like you'll be good with it. You don't even for example, if you're some programming language, you'll be so good with them that you don't even need the standard. You don't even need documentation anymore. Like the only time you want to reference documentation if it's something new, or maybe you just couldn't spot the error and you're just like, what's happening here? So you have to go and look at like you'll be so used to it. So I think once you practice over time, you'll be improving with them. So that's basically that's how my entire university period played. So you're just around improving and learning new technology and whatnot. Then anytime we're given something in school that doesn't specify a programming language, I use that as an opportunity to do something in one of the programming languages I'm not very good at. So for example, there was a time they were asked to write a lexical analyzer to analyze another programming language. Like write a lexical analyzer in one language and use it to analyze another language of your choice. Both of them are of your choice. So then I was still learning Go, so I use Go to write the analyzer and I analyze Ruby, for example. So I just use every opportunity I have to sort of improve myself. So while doing all that, I still acknowledge that I'm very, very good in Java. Like all those periods, if you want to interview me or if anything comes up, I always tell you that it's Java that I can use. So like that's a place. Like I know I can do anything in Java then. So it's not like I'm just learning all of them and knowing bits and pieces. No. So that's how the entire university. I think that's how it went in the uni. Then after uni, the first stop was Conga anyway. So I think that even brought a bigger exposure than I even thought, because then you're actually writing real products that people depend on, the company depend on, and you know that the company needs to use this product to actually make money. So more responsibilities are now on you. So you actually have to start making sure that you're writing things that don't break. It's not for fun anymore. So of course you're under the guidance of maybe your team lead or your line manager or whatnot, but like that, you just know that you're not in the real world. Let me put it that way. So Conga is many PHP, as Goke already know anyway. PHP, JavaScript for the front end. I think we just basically did everything. If we've interacted with servers, so that's one of the things I was trying to emphasize. Try to make sure that you start up somewhere that you'll be given as much exposure as much responsibility as possible. Okay. So what Conga did, which I'm still quite grateful for, is that it gave us so much responsibilities, and we just had to learn a lot of things in that period, and we were able to do a lot of things as well. So I don't think I'll trade what Conga did for me for that period for working in a bigger company and just be asked to manage a very, very small part of the system. That's never going to benefit me as much as what Conga did for me is going to benefit. So we were able to work with virtually any part of the system. Like we worked on back and front end. We even worked on the server level. We mixed a lot of decisions on that. We were part of the architectural talks. We were part of the design and all those kind of things. We were even part of product discussions at times in some cases. So it was a all-round experience, like exactly what you need to have to equip yourself at that particular point in time. So I think then from there it's all about I don't know how best to put it about parts per se, but I think so I think with time, when you've mastered certain area, you feel like, well, don't let me use the word master, that's wrong because our field is very much evolving. But I think when you're very comfortable with certain area, you may see the need yourself that I would like to explore somewhere else. And in that case, depending on the situation, you may have to change job, for example, to achieve that and things like that. So I think that's I think that's basically my journey. At least the beginning. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mia. Thanks so much. That's really, really helpful. Really helpful.
Yeah, this is just on the light hand. Yeah, I think you mentioned a lot of programming languages that you had contacts with and you have used yes part and you're still using now. Now I was just going to ask if you never had, especially for when you were in the university, because now the first language you were introduced to in the school that I went to is Fortran. Did you ever have any contact with Fortran at all?
Yeah, so we did Fortran in the second year, I think. Yeah, we did Fortran, and I personally don't have issues with Fortran because I just think the way it's been taught and the way it's been presented, it's what's not what could be better. Let me put it that way. I think that's what could be better. I think Fortran is good for computer science students because there are things you can benefit from Fortran. It's not the one you're going to use to be building your website and whatnot and anyway, but I think it's good. I think it's a good programming language on its own as part of your computer science journey. So I just think the way it's being presented to us is what needs to be improved. Let me put it that way. So yes, I did Fortran.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you never had that experience.
No, we had the experience.
Okay, thank you, Abiola, for your time. I think in the past 1 hour you've been on this, and it's been very helpful, even for me personally. It's been an awesome discussion and impactful. Thanks for impacting us. I don't know if Goke has anything to say. While he's also going to be the one to do the vote for thanks after.
Yeah. I guess so I think Biola should just give us like last advice and just any things that you think like the community, been a big part of this community so far. What this community is and what it stands for today, one way or the other, you've contributed immensely to that. So we're really happy that you took our time to be with us. And I would just like you to like give us the last piece of advice, and then I'll just round up and just run along.
Okay. Let me see. Okay. So I think one thing I would like people to at least pay attention to is not to get carried away with should I say the hype, and I don't know if that's the right word to use. Yeah, I think you shouldn't not get carried away per se, not to feel discouraged. Yeah, because some people, when they look at the level where they felt some people are, or the people they are meant to compete with, let me put it that way, and they just felt like these guys are so far ahead that there's no way I'm gonna be able to be at this level. So what I would say is that the reality there is that everybody at a particular point in time was at your level. Let me put it that way. So anybody you are looking at today, wherever in the world, there was a point in time that they don't know better than you know at where you are right now. So the journey of everybody is definitely different. You have access to different resources. So personally, I think it's not very fair to directly compare yourself with someone else, because I feel we all have different paths. You are always going to have access to different things, different resources, and that will always have an influence on how some things are done. What I'll just say is just try to become a better person every single day. Like, you don't necessarily have to be better than Goke, for example. You can just try to make sure that at least when when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm better than I am yesterday. Like that's enough. That's enough to keep going. So little by little, before you know it, you just realize that you can do a couple of things on your own, and without before you realize it. So don't be overwhelmed. Yeah, don't necessarily look down on yourself. Then try to, like I said, I personally feel like just try to put yourself in the right place as much as possible. Try to expose yourself to the right things as much as possible. Okay. Another part of, okay, one thing I didn't mention was back then I believe the frequency will have increased now anyway because more people are aware of it. But back then I interviewed at Google a couple of times for internship. So those kind of things, if you have the opportunity, it doesn't matter how big you think the company is, and you have the chance to sort of slot yourself in and cooperate with people. Like just put yourself there. You don't have to you don't really have to be the top 10 or runner up or whatever, but you're always going to benefit from the experience, and it's always going to challenge you and like help you ahead of future challenges. So I think that's it. Like for example, CodeJam is open now. You can register at CodeJam and just do it for fun. You don't try to look at how fast people are solving problems, but just go through the experience and inspire yourself. So what else can I say? I don't know, but I personally feel like right now you guys have more chances, because if personally by your own measurement you feel like I was able to make good progress by your own rating, definitely you have a higher chance than me. That's what I think. Because like I was saying, you still have internet, we don't have internet at all. And we don't have this much exposure. Like we don't have access to people like this. We don't have events happening around that we just go there and see professionals coming to meet us. We just by ourselves, and if you're lucky enough, I think one of the reasons why Google was one of had so much influence. Like a lot of people actually like Google, in at least like my set, and like they set around around the period I schooled. Let me put it that way. The main reason was simply because Google offered some exposure that we didn't have access to before. Like they brought events over and they started having student ambassadors, and because of that we're getting exposed to their products, and that improved us all around. So that I think that one played a role. So so I think overall you have chance, you have more opportunities now. So I think you stand a better chance. So if you think I made progress by your rating, definitely I think you can surpass me by if you go through the similar effort and the time period. I think you'll probably be in a better position than I, because you already have better resources from the start. That's what I feel. So it's not up to you to at least take advantage of that. I don't know what else I can say, but yeah. So right now, even back then in Nigeria, like there are so many people available now that you can actually look up to, and we have companies doing big stuff as well. So you don't actually have to. Personally, I still feel you should start from. I still feel you should start from there anyway. I still feel you should start building. You should start building from Nigeria, and it's many companies are doing great things now. Then, in fact, when I started, I think I can't really think of many other companies apart from Konga. But now you can think of companies apart from Konga, so you can see the difference. So yeah. So like I say, just try to challenge yourself as much as possible. Put yourself in the right scenario. Like if you have the opportunity to compete with the best, don't feel like you're not gonna win anyways and tick it off. No, it doesn't happen that way. Just be among them. It doesn't matter if you're the last. It's always gonna improve you. It's always gonna be a good experience for you going forward. And well, they say no knowledge is a waste, and I strongly believe that. Yeah, so I think I think that's what I can say.
So thanks so much, Biola. It's been really good having you on Ask Me Anything. It's first edition, and we'll be having much more of this with the community. And And thanks to everyone that was able to join the call as well. And thanks to Tola. Tola has been a really good anchor in running through this and our event organizer. We'll be sharing this on our blog on Medium. We'll be sharing the video and everything. I'll also be sharing it on Twitter for people on WhatsApp, our WhatsApp groups as well, so you can all benefit from it. I'll say it's a video we should watch again and learn. I didn't take notes now because I'm on here, but I will definitely take a lot of notes. I believe there's so much to learn from this. And yeah, Yola, we wish you all the best in your endeavors. And
yeah, thank you.
We'll always keep in touch, be part of the community as you've always been. And,
yeah.
So perhaps we'll have another session like this with you.
No problem.
Thanks so much, Yola. All right, everybody. Thanks, Tola. All right, bye.
Yeah, bye.